Welcome back to Control, episode 29, Containment. Episode 28 was rough, huh? Well, we're not doing it again. That's the only take you get, because it's super annoying. Containment is much less annoying. It's got a lot of fun features. Let's talk about it. We're now pretty deep into the game, and they can start to get experimental. They don't have to worry about leading you by the hand anymore, because you've already gotten used to the way that they lay things out. So we can see that we're getting really aggressive lights over here that leave this entire area in the darkness. It's not as dark as you might think, though. When your eye adaptation hops in, you can see just fine. I think that's a real neat trick to use eye adaptation on that level. This is what I was talking about back at the very beginning of the game. You don't have to have every area have the same amount of light, because if you're using eye adaptation, the player will always be able to see roughly the right amount. In this case, we've got some unusual lighting as well. We've got these striped lights from the Venetian blinds that they're coming through. We've also got these really, really aggressive halo lights, volumetric lights. This kind of volumetric light being so bright that it appears to take up space is definitely something that really changes the appearance of a level in comparison to what you might expect. I've already shot some folks in here. There are lots more folks talking loudly, but I'll let them be for now. You can see that there is this really, really bright drop on the ceiling, but this is a trick because it doesn't actually have enough light propagation to hit the floor. You can tell that right away because you see those three pipes in the way? Yeah, they don't appear down here. There's no light from up there is hitting the ground. In Unreal, that would be called the light propagation distance, and the light propagation distance for these bad boys stops around here somewhere, so they don't hit the floor. The only light we get are these lights coming out of these offices upstairs, coming through the blinds and casting this over there. And by the only light we get, I mean the only light that's directly hitting one of the primary surfaces. These undoubtedly do help. They create a lot of bounce light off of the walls up there, but this is not one of those situations where they're lighting the whole room based on a single drop light. They're using these broadcast lights instead, and these are faked. The lights coming out of those offices are not the same lights that are on inside the offices. And that's fine. Faking things is a time-honored tradition. In terms of layout, I do enjoy how this has a different feel from the other sectors. We've just quit out of the office area to enter into Blackrock, and now we're coming back into the office area, so they want to make it feel a little different. We got all this concrete instead of wood. We've got these long atriums instead of the super tall atriums. It gives it a different feel, a more contained feel, a more, prison-like feel, which makes sense because we're in the containment sector. Exciting stuff, right? Now, the containment sector is a lot more fun to move through than Blackrock Processing. The fights here are more manageable and more interesting. And they don't contain half a dozen invincible enemies that scream at you, which is a plus in my book. Let's head up to those offices upstairs. I'll show you what we sort of see. So here we've got an example of the other kind of... I just forgot the cubicle. That's the word. The other kind of cubicle. Remember how we talked about the cubicles before? We had those glass-topped cubicles that we could see through. This is what you see when you have the full height, or it's not even technically full height, when you have a fair height cubicle that is not partially glass. You can see how this part of the room basically doesn't exist. It's like closed off. It's not visible. We can't tell what's going on. And it's good if you want to hide things in these little nooks, another thing to pick up here or there. But if you're talking about, being able to see what's going on, trying to fight enemies, all that jazz, you want to use something that's got, say, glass, because that way you can actually see what's happening. But these are supposed to feel a lot less friendly, a lot more obscured and blocky. Because this is a containment area, and even the people who work here are contained.
Reminder, this week, any documents that suddenly appear pink, light red, or any shade in between must be incinerated immediately.
Another thing you'll notice is that these offices don't have very much in the way of window proxies. There are some windows going out here, but if we were to go back into the other sectors and take another look, you'll find that most of the offices there have a lot more windows, paintings, light wells, things to make you feel like you have a view of the outside. Up here, everything is closed off, everything is dim and drab and walled off, and the only kind of art we see is one painting of an outside vista that is placed specifically to make it look sad and isolated. I think it's really well done, and I really am enjoying the way that this particular sector looks. It's not my favorite sector in terms of looks, but it is quite good. I like it. The way that the dappled lights falls on these greenery elements is also really fantastic. It's just, this is a great thing to study. Over here you can see some really vibrant yellow light. I'm not 100% sure why this area is so super yellow. We do have some interesting stuff involving a shelter later, but it's not this shelter. So it being yellow is a strange choice. Maybe they did that just to tell you that you needed to go this way. Anyway, let's go fight some more dudes. Dude fighting. Dude fighting. Dude fighting. Dude. 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 Now, some of these dudes are rocket launcher dudes, so we have to be a little bit careful. But it shouldn't be too much of an issue, seeing as that we're cheating. Oh, we caught that out of the air. Nice. You can take that guy, and you can take this guy. And you can take this guy. Oh no, an enemy! Hey. Yeah, see how fast and manageable that was in comparison to Blackrock? So this is the main atrium of the containment region. It is a very pretty atrium that follows some very unusual rules. But even when it's closed in like this, you can already see some of the spatial features that really make this atrium unique. It has an unusual layout in terms of the way that the levels work. We'll see it more up close in just a moment here. So there's a few really interesting features about this atrium. One is that there is no central feature. Instead of having a central feature, they've chosen to leave it as empty space, which does give this a huge empty feeling. You feel how big and hollow this area feels. They've come in a lot closer with the second tier, the second level elements on the sides. They've really enclosed the space on ground floor and left it open on the second floor. This is a really unusual approach that only works because the center is left hollow. If the center had a giant tree in it, then this room would feel very claustrophobic. Since it doesn't, it doesn't. I like how it's got this triple drop, 1, 2, 3, to give it a sense of which direction you're supposed to be going across it, but the side elements are what we're focusing on today, and these side elements are pretty cool. They're neat. Over here, we've got this beautiful map. To be honest, I almost would have preferred them to come up with some way to have a giant atrium with a globe, and they could do the same map type stuff, but on the globe, just because I think a globe would make an awesome centerpiece. But I'm certainly not going to complain. This looks pretty great. Aside from these desks, which are the worst desks mankind has ever had. And over on the other side, we get kind of the same thing, but there's no giant map. It's just a giant row of blinking lights, I think, or time cards, something like that. Oh, it's some kind of time tracking thing, but I don't know what it's supposed to be. So that's the basic setup of this atrium. It's this huge atrium, but most of the space is closed off, and it's left with mostly the second level being the open area. You see that? And that is extremely rare and very interesting, and I really like how it feels. Coming up with variations like that is important if you plan to keep the player interested. Over here, you can see the most interesting room. Yeah, or not. I'm just having fun. We can go through these doors and into some other spaces. I believe that we're going to have to do some fighting if we do. Fight's on the other side. That's fine. So here we've got someone who's got a man down. He's dying. He's bleeding out.
Someone needs help over there.
Alright, so in here we've got some more loot.
Sounds like there's a man down.
You think so? Alright, so here we've got a secondary atrium. These are the side atriums, the wings, if you will. And you can see that they have a slightly unusual setup as well. They have the same one-sided drop that I'm always talking about, but it doesn't go all the way to the floor. It stops at the second level. This is a very second-level focused area, and I think it works really, really well. We do get a lot of spillover light, which is great, but one of the more interesting things about this is that there is a massive light source over there that we can't really see and doesn't make much of an impact on us until we go up the stairs, at which point it immediately becomes our primary focus. See that? Understanding how to reveal elements, put in lips and changes in heights and that sort of stuff, that's really important, and light is an element. So if you're going to be creating a level like this, you do well to understand that what's the player going to see? When do they turn a corner? When do they go up a ladder or a staircase? These are things that will allow you to change exactly what the player perceives as important. And that's one of the big features that lighting can pull off. Over here we got Horowitz. Oh, I didn't click on Horowitz.
The
Anyway, we're supposed to go into the clocks, which I love. We're going to have the clocks next episode, though. This episode is already 11 minutes, and the clocks are like a good 15 minutes on their own. So, I think this is probably a good place to stop. The other wing on the other side looks identical to this wing, but there's dudes to shoot. So, fun, fun, fun. See ya in a couple of minutes or I guess it'll be a day for you, or no time at all, depending on when you're watching this. See ya.